Evet arkadaşlar başlıyoruz.
So why should an entertainment
Hello everyone, welcome to the DigitalBox channel. I'm Defne and I'm working as an industry manager team lead at AdColony, and we are here together with Will Dorling.
Hello, I'm Will Dorling. I'm the Director of Brand Sales for the UK for AdColony. Looking forward to the chat.
Perfect. So let's start with actually our first question, Will. As you might know, we are on the pandemic phase. Still in UK, I know that things have not get back all well right now. So how did actually the pandemic affect United Kingdom in general?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a big question, but we've seen such an unprecedented time over the last 3 to 4 months in the UK and around the world. I think the thing that started off here in the UK was actually watching what was happening in other countries. So as we followed this herd mentality route, Italy and Spain went into some really sort of strong lockdown measures, and the UK was actually a few weeks to follow that. When we went into lockdown, you know, life as normal stopped for pretty much everyone that wasn't an essential worker. So we had people that would normally be traveling in and working in offices in cities, all trying to work from home. And actually a large part of the population that just weren't able to work at all because their work didn't support that. So those people were furloughed. So we had a funny time for the sort of the next 2 to 3 months, with the economy really striving to carry on as normal, everyone being as inventive and entrepreneurial as they can to keep businesses afloat, and some people just not able to work. But everyone really sort of trying to do their best from their homes, from their flats, with kids not in school and school teaching. So it's really a time that we've never seen, but everyone's responded really well. And actually the UK now is starting to come out of the lockdown, again, a few weeks after, countries like Germany and Italy and Spain. So it'll be interesting to see how things move over the remainder of the summer and into the back end of the year. But everyone's feeling optimistic. There's a lot more to do, but we're looking forward to getting back to some kind of normal.
And as from the working perspective, from the moment the epidemic first appeared, what was your approach as the sales team actually, or if I have to be more specific, what were the first actions you did actually take, and how were you be able to manage the crisis?
Yeah, a great question, and actually quite interesting to look back at what we did do and how we approached this, this situation. So I think what was really interesting for us is, because we've not been through a procedure like this before, was really to see how the market reacted. And I think it was very clear very quickly that, some specific industries and advertisers were going to find it very, very tough. Those advertisers, rightfully for their business, began to sort of look at whether they needed to invest in marketing at the current time or not. So we found ourselves in a position where very quickly, when the lockdown started, that certain clients were pulling spend, investing it into looking after their staff and making sure that people's livelihoods were secure, rather than glitzy marketing campaigns. But also at the same time that was happening, I think a lot of advertisers found that the lockdown and people being at home wasn't going to affect their business, and actually it was going to offer them a great opportunity. People had more time on their hands, and certainly for digitally based businesses, there was an awesome opportunity. So for us as a team, the start of the lockdown really meant looking at the market, seeing who was advertising and who wasn't. We spent a lot of time talking to our advertising agencies to understand the effect on their business. Obviously, if people were working on accounts that weren't spending, agencies have been furloughing teams, which is never good, but often necessary to keep those jobs alive long term. So being really sympathetic to challenges across the market, trying to understand where marketing and advertising was happening and where clients weren't investing, so that we could best focus our efforts and add value to our agencies and clients. So in understanding where the opportunities and where the advertising market was active, I think the next phase was really to understand how AdColony could apply our products and our kind of know-how to actually start to answer some clients' advertising challenges in a very different ecosystem to one that they were working in maybe sort of 3 or 4 weeks before. So, you know, how were we able to steer a conversation and help advertisers reach consumers that were no longer moving around in their normal day-to-day routines?
Yeah.
And we're still kind of in that phase now as we move out of the lockdown. It's about to change again, you know, as we start to move into sort of the post lockdown phase.
And you probably have also seen the switch in the advertisement world from traditional to digital. And here's my question especially, what did you see, like how it affected the mobile world, especially how it did affect the mobile gaming world? And also, like, did your communication with the, like you said, your communication has changed regarding to that with the customers. Can you a little bit give more specific detail on that?
Yeah, sure. You know, I think if anybody said that they were living exactly the same way now that they did 12 weeks ago, they'd probably be a very rare person. Everyone's routine, everyone's media consumption, everyone's family life and kind of relationships has changed immeasurably. So it's only right that you know, marketing and advertising would need to adapt to I suppose apply to those new or very different kind of rules that we're all adhering to. You know, the main one of those being people have been forced or kind of asked to spend as much time at home as possible. You know, that really changes the media landscape massively. You know, people not going out and traveling around, so access to, you know, posters and billboards is far less volume. You know, we are not picking up free papers or potentially buying the volume of newspapers and magazines that we were, because we're just not in those environments. On the flip side, you know, we're at home, so the telly's there, the radio's there, but more importantly, our mobile phones are there. So, you know, we're turning to those digital and at-home media channels a lot more and having more time for them than we did previously. You know, the omnipotent one is mobile because it's in our hand or it's around our body pretty much all day long. So we see consumers dipping in and out of their mobiles a lot more during the lockdown than perhaps they were when they were sat at their desk at work, particularly. So really interesting in terms of how consumers' kind of media consumption has changed during the lockdown. And that's where it meets with the challenge of the marketer, that if you are still looking to speak to consumers during the pandemic, what's the best way to reach them? You know, some of the traditional channels, cinema, newsprint, posters have had challenges. Digital channels have had opportunities and seen a lot of growth. Specifically for mobile gaming, I think it's been really interesting that as a media channel, it's sort of sailed a bit under the radar for the last 2 years, but it really is a sort of the golden child of digital. You know, we know 9 out of 10 adults play games on their phone. It's just something we do for entertainment, to have fun and relax. But during the pandemic, obviously, where we've not been in these kind of these busy environments such as offices where it wouldn't be acceptable to play games, we've been at home, we've not been traveling around as much, so we've had more time to invest in our favorite games. So we've seen a huge rise in time spent mobile gaming. I mean, it's been great for the mobile game developers because they've been able to attract bigger and newer audiences to their games. And it's also been a really good opportunity for brands to communicate to their consumers through games. You know, it's a brand safe environment where, you know, there is no user generated content. So it's a very safe place to place your advert. But when you're reaching bigger audiences who are spending more time there, it's an awesome way to start to build up unique reach to campaigns that may have only focused on TV or radio in the past. So we've seen great increases. I think the other sort of, you know, poster child, if we're speaking not just about mobile gaming, would be to look at digital streaming channels. Disney, through timing or not, launched Disney Plus right at the start of the lockdown in the UK, just at the time that people are looking for more awesome content on their TV. So, you know, there's been great opportunities to take advantage of in what is a very difficult time. But mobile gaming certainly seen a much bigger growth in numbers of gamers, but also time spent.
So what do you think about the industries which were more affected? Okay, we know the entertainment is being affected in two ways. The movies were like a little bit more on pause, but the OTT platforms were were increasing. So what do you think for other industries, like, and how was your actions while like approaching to each of the industries?
Yeah, I mean, I think the effect on business, other than the obvious effect on kind of human life and the impact it's had on us as people, but the effect on businesses and global economies has probably been sort of one of the main concerns around the COVID outbreak. And I think if you look at any business sector, there are, often winners and losers within that sector. Some sectors have just been absolutely devastated. If you look at kind of the bar and restaurant sector, which is sort of been closed down and only just starting to come out, very difficult to run those businesses digitally, but obviously they've adapted. So, we see companies, adapting to home delivery and takeaway and being really nimble around how they use digital platforms to help them maintain some kind of business. If we look at industries like travel, it's very hard for travel at the moment. People aren't traveling. They've not been allowed to travel. Very difficult to travel digitally. You just can't do it. So that industry has and continues to have a really, really tough time. That obviously has an immediate knock-on effect in terms of marketing, but airlines, travel operators, hotel, companies, they've all had a really hard time. So where you could look at the restaurant industry as having some kind of digital green shoots and opportunities, travel's really, really been hard hit. Auto, similarly, a lot of manufacturing plants and dealerships have been closed, only just starting to reopen. Not people's first choice to think about buying a car during a pandemic such as this. But auto industry has now started to adapt and look at how they can use digital as a way to supplement that dealership experience. So digital experiential environments, configurators, 360-degree explorers for new models. If someone's not comfortable to go into a dealership yet, but still wants to explore their new car, digital can help them do that. You mentioned entertainment, obviously, cinema being hugely affected. It's one of the biggest categories for us in the UK for AdColony. And what we see is a lot of the big kind of summer blockbusters have been paused or delayed as cinemas have just been closed. But we've seen those film companies adapt, and some have looked at moving movies straight to digital download, where services apply. And that's where something like Disney Plus is quite interesting, because Disney have a channel now which is direct to the consumer. Yeah. But also within the entertainment sector, we see music streaming going up massively. We see digital content through OTT providers like Netflix growing hugely. And the challenge for those products is really to seize that increased momentum and put their content in front of new audiences. So we've seen a lot of activity from OTT streaming services to promote the new content coming onto their platforms. Everyone's competing for viewers. Viewers have more time at home to watch TV. So it's actually a good opportunity to seal a bigger market share. So I think whilst the overriding impression for the market is incredibly tough, businesses that have a strong digital opportunity and a platform where they can get their products to consumers have actually been able to move those products and those offerings forward quite a few steps through the adversity, because consumers want to, still have access to certain products and services. Digital enables that. So, it's been great to see some really strong development and innovation. It's been very hard to see some sectors really struggle, but, even struggling sectors now have the opportunity that we're moving forward out of this, and to see what advantages digital has given the companies that are, a few months ahead of them down the line. So there's some real great opportunities with digital at the center and mobile at the center of digital.
Another question is what are your plans for the near future? What kind of changes will you do you plan about what has been done so far as the outbreak continues?
Yeah, interesting question, and something that we're actually, we're still really kind of just working through it in terms of how we come out of this this pandemic. So, everyone at the back of their mind's got a second wave. So, everyone's sort of praying that, moving towards winter, nothing like this happens again. So I think everyone's trying to be really, really cautious in terms of how they come out of the lockdown. Yeah. From a practical perspective, as a sales team, obviously, we're responsible for spending time in front of and with our clients, and that's very difficult. We've had to really adapt to using Zoom and digital communications to spend time with clients. But we're all looking forward to, at some point, getting back and actually meeting with clients person to person. But I think we have to really sort of respond to how our agencies and our clients want to do that to fit in with their internal policies. So to do that in a safe and an appropriate manner. So in the meantime, I think we'll carry on meeting digitally and having great conversations without meeting in person. We've carried on doing business, those relationships have maintained. But I think in terms of the actual day-to-day job of marketing and advertising, we need to look at the sectors that are, already coming back to, normality versus those that have really just started to sort of creep back to some form of normality. So where we talked about OTT streaming services, they've been quite active, they've been really busy and their businesses have moved forward. But travel operators and bricks and mortar retailers, they've got a job to convince customers that their environments are now open, they're ready for business, things have been handled in the right way. So they're kind of opening up comms with potential customers again, whereas some companies are really just trying to carry on the momentum that they've built up. The job for AdColony is really to maintain the communication around why our platform is such a great opportunity to communicate with consumers, with full screen video, with an opted-in format. We're presenting a TV-like experience on your mobile device, whether the consumer is at home, because they're still self-isolating, or, they've started to move around. So wherever they are with their mobile, you have, through AdColony, a chance to communicate. It's always an opted-in impression. So the main thing for us is to look at the sectors that are strong, look at the sectors that are going to return to strength, and really sort of adapt our conversation and our products to suit what those advertisers want to do, whether it's to present a digital experiential event for an auto client, or whether it's start to help movie distributors promote some of their films, which are now pushed back later on in the year. So it's really just adapting the conversation to how the advertiser wants and needs to speak to their clients.
Yeah. Also, what's your advice for the ones who still work from home during this time right now? And how do you actually spend your time efficiently while you're working at home?
Yeah, okay. I think everyone we've all seen the proliferation of LinkedIn posts around everyone's tips and bits and pieces for how to effectively work from home. The work day is exactly the same, right? We want to stay productive in the same way. For myself personally, it means, staying true to the strategy that we set for our clients and our team. So knowing who we want to talk to and why we want to talk to those clients. And then really just using the digital tools available. So, being active on phone, being active on internet, setting up meetings. Meetings are digital meetings like this rather than in person. But I've actually found a lot of agencies and a lot of clients are actually more willing to meet digitally because, they don't have to find room. They don't have to, go and book a meeting place. You don't have to waste time traveling between locations. So actually meetings have just carried on as normal. So it's been fantastic to see, the usage increase on Zoom, on Teams, on WhatsApp, whatever it might be that we use to get in touch. But the core principles stay the same. It's know who you want to talk to and why you want to talk to them, why you're relevant for their business. Set up the opportunity to meet with those people and understand their challenges. We did one of these talks with my boss, Andrew Kramer, some time ago, and he opens up with, listening is the key part of selling. So for me to be productive, it's to get in front of clients, really to hear what their challenges are so that we can then start to talk about potentially how we can answer those challenges. But, stick to those core strategies that you set down at the very beginning, which all comes from understanding your business, where you're good, where you're not good, and how you want to do more good stuff.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Okay, thank you. This was all.
You're welcome.
So thank you for today, Will. It was fantastic and really insightful for us. So also thank you for watching us, and if you liked the video, please don't forget to like or don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you next time.
Evet arkadaşlar, başlıyoruz. So why should an endüstrilerin
AdColony